Now, the two biggest names hovering over the team as it relates to contracts entering the offseason, George Kittle and Brock Purdy. Kittle got his deal. He separately has said that it was pretty simple. It was pretty easy. We broke it down last week. There are, I think, clues in his contract as to what the structure will look like for Brock Purdy and how they'll play the game to allow his agents to say, look at this great APY, new money. The reality of what gets paid out will be very different. It will be less. It will have a lower value. And it'll probably have 2 years fully guaranteed at signing with maybe a little bit trickling into year 3 and the opportunity to pump more up in year 3 because that's what they did with Kittle. So against that backdrop, here is Lynch from yesterday with Chris and Ahmed on the current state of the Brock Purdy contract negotiations.
You know, we made it a practice not to talk about negotiations, and that goes way back to when I was playing. I felt like that was my business, and I didn't want the world knowing it. So I've always been very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you, can tell you, is we're having really good, positive discussions. When it gets done, I'm not sure. Hope sooner rather than later, but hope is not a strategy. So we're making progress. We've had good discussions.
And, you know, Chris, we've kicked this around from time to time. I was on with Rich Eisen yesterday, and he asked me when is the over-under to get it done. And it's like he kind of put me on the spot, and I thought about it, and it's like, well, probably the start of OTAs if I'm Purdy. Because even though you don't get hit in practice, that's when you can have something happen. Remember that time? It's been about 10, 12 years ago when Tom Brady with the Patriots, they were having joint practices with the Buccaneers, and somebody came around the edge.
Yeah.
I think Adrian Claiborne was the end and hit Brady's knee, and there was like an hour of like, holy crap,
did
he
get
tear
hurt?
his ACL again?
Right.
So it can happen once you're out there in live reps, even if they can't hit you. If I'm Purdy at $5.3 million, and he has made $2.3 million in 3 years from the 49ers combined, right? I'm not doing a damn thing until this deal's done. We're going to get it done anyway. I'm not putting myself in position that if I get an injury, I have no value whatsoever beyond the $5.3 million I'm due to make this year.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And again, I didn't press John Lynch on a lot of these issues, right? We didn't go deep into the Brock Purdy thing. Hey, he's a friend of mine. We talked about process more of being a GM, what you do, how you prepare for the draft, free agency, things like that is really
clear from what he said. Hey, I mean, you don't need to. It was clear from what he said, he wasn't going to say much.
So I know that's what I was trying to say.
So when are you going to get it done by? When are you going to get it done by? He's not going to tell you.
I know exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Like there's only so many ways, and he's been asked that question 9 million times, right? So we didn't get deep into that. I know from them right straight out of their mouth. They love Brock Purdy. They want Brock Purdy to be their quarterback. Shanahan, John Lynch, they've said that. There's no question. Now, what they're dealing with in the contract and the numbers, the guarantees, I don't know. I don't know what that is either way. But what I am interested to see here is because, like we talked about, they are trying to keep their nucleus of star guys, I think, to usher these new guys into the next era of 49er football here too. But, you know, your point and it's dicey. OTAs, it's not really much pass rush around or anything like that. So you don't have to worry. It's not quite like training camp. But where I'm getting to is also, I am interested to see what Brock Purdy does, because Brock Purdy did not play well last year. He needs to play well this year. He's going to get the new contract at some point. Is he going to sacrifice not doing OTAs and going through those reps, right? He's one of those guys. He's been there. He's been showing up to where I wouldn't be shocked if he just said, I'll do OTAs while this goes on. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just interested. We'll see how it goes. But, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I think it is a interesting conversation there.
I think if you want to have the best relationship possible with the guy and you acknowledge you're going to do the deal at some point and you've just done Kittle's deal, I think it's imperative for everyone to get together. Let's agree that the deadline is the start of OTAs. Let's agree to that. And it takes a leap of faith, and the biggest problem with it is if both sides aren't fully committed to treating it like the deadline, if one side decides to take liberties, they may think they can squeeze the other side a little higher, and then they say, well, we still have time to do this deal. So once you've gone to your bottom line and time passes, the thinking is you're going to go even higher. That's why a deadline is important. If you go to your bottom line while there's still time left, the thinking is you've still got more room to move. You want to land that plane right on time so you get to your best number as the clock is running out. But look at all the deals that get done without the ticking clock. You can either simulate a ticking clock or you can trust the other side that we're not trying to screw you. You're not trying to screw us. Look at what the Texans did with Derek Stingley Jr. There was no deadline.
Right.
There was nothing.
Right.
There was no reason to do that deal. And they sat down and they got it done.
Yeah.
So you can either be like the Cowboys and drag your feet until the clock literally is striking 12 and the bells are tolling and you got to get your ass inside before something bad happens. Or you can just say, we trust each other. We're going to be doing business together. Let's just do a deal that works for everyone.
I hope so. I hope it's that rather than, the prior option you've talked about, because if there's one thing you could sit there with the 49ers and maybe like kind of pick at a little bit is they've been the ones to drag their feet a little with these contracts too. I mean, we can be fair there. Certainly.
No, they do.
Yeah,
Until Kyle goes and says, what the hell are we doing? They drag their feet.
Right. Well, so we'll see where this goes here too, and if they drag their feet. But yeah, I as of course a fan of the 49ers and my friends there, and I root for them, I don't want to see them drag their feet on this too much longer either. I don't care what you say. It becomes an issue. Yeah, they might have got away with it with Nick Bosa, but they didn't get away with it with Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk and some of those issues there, and they did filter into the season and affected their football team. So Brock Purdy's an ultimate professional. I know that. He's the ultimate gym rat. He's not going to make it about a me situation or cause attention. I know he's going to go to meetings and be in the quarterback meetings and do all that stuff with Shanahan and be there a part of that. Is he going to be on the field, OTAs? That's going to be the interesting part. Or do they make a deadline like you're saying? Or do they make an agreement on OTAs and go, hey, we just want you to go out and do drills and do this? Well, nothing team-wise or no line will ever be around you. Will never put you in a dangerous situation. I don't know, but we'll be interested to see how they play this here in the next few weeks.
When the dust settled on the nonstop news flow from last week on Saturday, I wrote something about what the Purdy contract could look like based upon the clues in the Kittle deal, the 2 years fully guaranteed, the third-year guarantee that can be bumped up based upon performance in year two, the phony final year that drives up the new money APY to get it from $18 million to $19.1, which puts him a click above the $19 million new money average paid to Trey McBride of the Cardinals. So I think that we're looking at 2 years, 90, fully guaranteed. And you could do, and I constructed it, I did the math, you could do something with a new money APY of 55-1 if you put a couple of phony $60 million years on the back end. And that may not even be phony by the time we get there if the guy keeps playing well. $60 million
That's right.
may be very affordable.
Yeah, right.
But you could do a 55-1 that puts him a click above that cluster of guys at 55 behind Dak Prescott and Josh Allen. And you get the headline, and everybody's like, this is great, and his agent can try to leverage that development into more clients, but at the end of the day, it'll be kind of like the Kirk Cousins deal.
Yeah, I hear
2
you.
years,
right.
$90 million,
yeah, right.
$10 million trickling guaranteed into year three.
Right.
45 is kind of where we think he should be, and there's a way to do this so it looks like 55, but it's really 45.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they can do that or finagle that, or does Purdy look for more of a true hard line 55, and put his draw a line in the sand that way. I don't know. The thing with Kittle was a little different, where one, Kittle is coming to the end of his career. I think he does want to be a 49er. And if you listen to Diane Rossini or some people out there in the NFL world, I mean, it sounds like there was trade talks along with George Kittle over the weekend,
and
too.
Look,
right.
Why wouldn't you call?
Right.
This is where I don't like to elevate these stories that are just kind of obvious. Like, okay, there's clearly something going on with Kittle and the 49ers. Of course somebody's going to make a phone call to see if he's available, but he wasn't traded, and there was no indication there were any serious talks. They signed him. They got it done. And maybe it's getting those phone calls that spurred it forward. Like, we don't even want this to become a thing. Let's just get this thing done before it takes on a life of its own. We're not trading George Kittle.
No,
I can see why people would call.
No, yeah, I definitely would be hear you call and all that too. But yeah, I'm just throwing that out there for instances of what could have lit the fire to get that contract done a little quicker than where we are with Brock Purdy.
So somebody should call and try to trade for Brock.
Right. Hello, Pittsburgh. Tell Aaron Rodgers the engagement's off. Take that ring off. You don't need him anymore.
The other point too, and I don't know how to pronounce his agent's last name. It's either Strongen or Strongen. Kyle is his first name.
Right.
Apparently, and I had another agent point this out in the aftermath of the story that I wrote over the weekend. This guy used to work for the 49ers. And I wonder if that helps or I wonder if that's a hindrance when it's time to sit down and work something out, because to the extent he's got access to the playbook, maybe it makes it a little harder to do a negotiation that lands the way that he wants it to. Because look, this is a small agency that wants to use Brock Purdy and parlay that into a big deal,
right?
A bigger practice.
Right.
That's the game.
Yeah. No, exactly right. And I think, that's the other factor here that plays into this that, I don't know if the normal everyday fan would think about, but yeah, that relationship, the fact that, like you brought up many times, Brock Purdy is their sole guy and the one guy that they have. So this is a banner statement for their agency and all that. Yeah, that plays into this. Of course it does. We know it does. I mean, they want to look good. They don't want to look like, hey, the first big-time player we ever got, we got fleeced by a team in the contract. Hey, come be with us. We get regularly fleeced by teams. Yeah, that'll get them more business. So it's a tough situation from that standpoint too.
Range Sports in Nashville, Tennessee is the agency that represents Brock Purdy. So we'll see how prominent Range Sports becomes in the aftermath of this deal. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.